Okay, so what if I told you that the difference between something costing 1 penny and something costing nothing is, well, it's one of the most powerful forces in our world? It sounds crazy, right? But it is. Today, we're diving into the cost of zero cost. This is a huge idea from the book Predictably Irrational, and it explains exactly why that little word free makes our very logical brains just completely shut down.
All right, let me ask you something, and be honest. Have you ever grabbed something just because it was free? Even when you knew deep down you didn't really want it or would ever use it? We're talking about that free coffee, the keychain from a conference, that t-shirt that's still in its plastic wrap at the back of your closet. I mean, we've all been there. The real question is, why? What is going on?
I mean, think about it. You see this stuff everywhere. Piling your plate way too high at a buffet just because it's all you can eat. Or, buying two shirts you kind of like just to get that third one for free. Turns out this isn't just some weird random thing we do. It's a totally predictable pattern in our behavior. And lucky for us, a really clever experiment with chocolate breaks down exactly how this whole thing works.
So, let's look at this chocolate experiment. It's designed to put the power of free to the ultimate test. This is where we get to see what's really happening inside our heads when we're faced with that magic price of zero.
All right, in this corner, we have the Lindt truffle, the fancy, super creamy, high-end Swiss chocolate. And in the other corner, the classic Hershey's Kiss. Look, it's a perfectly fine chocolate, but let's be real, it's pretty standard stuff. There is a very clear difference in quality here. Okay, so for round one, the fancy Lindt truffle cost 15 cents, and the Hershey's Kiss was just 1 cent. And what happened? Well, a huge majority of people, we're talking 73%, made a totally rational choice. They looked at it and said, wow, a premium chocolate for only 14 cents more? That's a steal. So they went for the Lindt. Makes perfect sense, right? Totally logical.
But then, the researchers did something sneaky. They made one tiny, tiny change. They just lowered the price of both chocolates by a single penny. That's it. So the price difference between them is still exactly 14 cents. Logically, our choices shouldn't change at all, right?
And this is where everything goes haywire. Suddenly, the Hershey's Kiss is free, and the Lindt truffle is a steal at 14 cents. But look what happens. The preferences completely flip on their head. Now, 69% of people are grabbing the Hershey's Kiss. The only thing that changed was that the price hit zero, and just like that, all rational thought went right out the window.
So this is the big takeaway, right? You've got what should happen according to logic and economics versus what actually happens with real people. The theory says, hey, the price gap is the same. People should still pick the better chocolate. The Lindt truffle is still the smarter buy. But in reality, the second that Kiss became free, it was like a switch flipped in our brains, and all that careful calculation just vanished. So what on earth is going on inside our heads? Why is zero this emotional hot button? Let's get into the psychology of free. Yeah, this thing actually has a name. It's called the zero price effect. And it's basically just a fancy way of describing what we saw with the chocolate. The demand for something absolutely explodes when the price is zero, in a way that just doesn't happen if the price is even 1 tiny cent. Zero isn't just another number, it's in a whole different league. And here's the real psychological kicker. See, every time we buy something, there's a little voice in the back of our head worried about the downside. What if I don't like it? What if it's a waste of money? We're wired to avoid loss. But when something is free, that little voice just goes silent. The risk of making a bad choice completely disappears. There's no downside. And because of that, our brain irrationally cranks up the value of that free thing.
Okay, so this is about way more than just candy. This exact same glitch in our thinking shows up in some really big, real-world decisions, and it can end up costing us a ton.
Check out this amazing story from Amazon. A while back, they started offering free shipping on orders above a certain amount. And, as you'd expect, sales shot up everywhere. Well, everywhere except France. For some reason, it just wasn't working there. And why? It's because in France, the offer wasn't for free shipping. It was for shipping that cost 1 franc, like 20 cents. That tiny, tiny cost was enough to kill the whole deal. The second they changed it to totally free, boom, sales in France took off just like in every other country. And it's not just Amazon. Remember AOL? Back in the day, they switched their pricing model from pay per hour to a monthly plan that included free hours. They figured, usage would go up a little bit. Well, they were wrong. They were completely and totally overwhelmed, like overnight. The system just couldn't handle it. The number of people logging on jumped from $140,000 to $236,000 almost instantly. They had no idea just how powerful the pull of free really was. And we see this pop up in our own lives in really important ways. We'll choose a mortgage because it has no closing costs, but we don't realize it has a much higher interest rate that'll cost us thousands more over time. Or we'll stick with a terrible checking account just to avoid a $5 monthly fee, even though another bank offers way better services for just a little more. Even the author of the book admits it got him. An offer for 3 years of free oil changes was one of the things that convinced him to buy a cool sports car, instead of the minivan his family actually needed. Oops. Okay, so right now, this probably sounds like a bug in our system that marketers love to exploit, and they do. But here's the cool part. This same powerful, irrational impulse can actually be harnessed for good. So, listen up, policymakers. If you want people to do something good for society, the lesson from all this is crystal clear. Don't just make it cheaper, make it free. You want more people to use electric cars? Don't just offer a discount on registration, eliminate the fee entirely. You want to boost the number of people getting crucial health screenings? Don't just lower the copay by a few bucks, make the screening absolutely 100% free. That's how you tap into that emotional hot button and drive real change. Look, if there's one thing to remember from all of this, it's this simple fact. The difference between 2 cents and 1 cent is just a penny. Our brain gets that. But the difference between 1 cent and 0? That's not a penny. In our minds, that is a massive emotional Grand Canyon. So from now on, when you see that buy one, get one free sign, or you get tempted by a free shipping offer, you'll know what's happening. You know the psychological trick that's being played. You're officially armed with the knowledge of this totally predictable irrationality. So the question I'll leave you with is, now that you know about this emotional hot button, where are you going to see the power of free next?